A new bride drowned in 9 inches of water. Her husband was found in a nearby burning cottage, disoriented and dazed. And the only other person there, his best friend, who stood to gain everything. This is a true story, a bizarre, unsolved case that became known as the 8-Day Bride. The year was 1947. 22-year-old Christina Kettlewell had been married to war veteran Jack Kettlewell for just 8 days. But strangely, while celebrating their honeymoon, they weren't alone. Jack's best friend, Ronald Barry, a charismatic Italian ballroom dancer, had joined them. What happened next would make this one of Canada's most enduring unsolved mysteries. On May 17th, the trio headed to Ronald's remote cottage in Severn Falls, Ontario. Quiet, isolated, and only accessible by boat. But what was meant to be a peaceful retreat quickly turned strange. Christina became emotional in ways that were uncharacteristic for her, prone to sudden crying fits, long vacant stares, and episodes of confusion. She confided in Ronald more than her husband, often questioning whether Jack truly loved her. Then, on May 20th, everything came undone. The cottage caught fire. Ronald returned from a short boat trip to find smoke pouring from the building, Jack inside, dazed and injured. He dragged him to safety, but Christina was nowhere to be found. A short while later, her body was discovered, just 150 feet from the smouldering ashes of the cottage, lying face down in shallow water. She had no burns, no external wounds. The autopsy revealed codeine in her stomach and an official cause of death: drowning. But then something even darker surfaced. Notes, 3 in total, all written by Christina, each one more desperate than the last. One note, written weeks before the wedding, was addressed to Ronald. In it, Christina confessed she'd tried to poison herself and hinted at fears Jack might never propose. A second note, penned in late April, took a darker turn. It spoke not only of ending her own life, but of taking Jack with her. It read in part, "I know there is no one for me but Jack. If I cannot have him, I do not intend anyone else to." The final note was written just 1 day before her death. Addressed to a landlady, it included a chilling line. "Ronnie is in the boat outside somewhere. By the time he gets back, everything will be all over with." All 3 notes were confirmed by handwriting experts to be authentic. But Ronald, who had kept the letters, never told Jack about them. Even more curiously, he managed to rescue those notes from the burning cottage. Then came the money. Before the wedding, Jack had taken out 2 life insurance policies, each worth $5,000, on both himself and Christina. They included a double indemnity clause, meaning the payout would double if the death was ruled accidental, totaling the equivalent of nearly $200,000 in today's money. The beneficiary on both was Ronald Barry. And that's not all. Jack, a war veteran, had signed over his military gratuity payment, meant for discharged servicemen, to Ronald. He had also removed his entire family from his will. As police began questioning those involved, contradictions piled up. Jack, still recovering from his injuries, told investigators he couldn't remember anything after 11 a.m. on the day Christina disappeared. Meanwhile, Ronald gave police a 3,000-word statement so elaborate they described it as fantastic. On June 19th, 1947, the inquest into Christina's death began. What should have been a solemn proceeding quickly turned into a media spectacle. Crowds flooded the courtroom. Onlookers gathered outside. People even approached Jack and Ronald, asking for autographs. But this wasn't a murder trial. No one had been charged. The purpose of the inquest was simple: to determine if foul play was involved. What came out was far from simple. The court heard testimony about Christina's erratic behavior, the notes, the codeine in her system, and then it got personal. The Crown Counsel grilled Jack about his relationship with Ronald, pressing him repeatedly. At first, Jack denied anything inappropriate. Then, under intense questioning, he changed his story. He admitted that he and Ronald had been romantically involved, at least according to a statement he made to police. But in court, he claimed that statement had been coerced. What exactly was the nature of the relationship between these 3 people? Was Christina trapped in something she didn't fully understand, or was she overwhelmed by jealousy and heartbreak? The jury was left with no clear answer. Their final statement read, "Due to the fact that the post-mortem examination disclosed codeine in the stomach of the deceased, and due to the suspicious fact that she was found drowned, this jury is unable to decide on the evidence given whether or not foul means were employed in her death." In other words, they couldn't rule it murder, but they couldn't rule it out either. Jack and Ronald walked free, and were never officially accused of wrongdoing, but they left behind a trail of suspicion, and a case that's still whispered about nearly 80 years later. It remains one of Canada's most unsettling unsolved mysteries. We may never know what really happened at that cottage. But we do know this: Christina Kettlewell's body was found, but the truth never surfaced. And in the silence that followed, she became more than a tragedy. She became known to history as the 8-Day Bride. If you're drawn to the dark corners of history and to mysteries that refuse to stay buried, then subscribe. There are more mysteries waiting to be unmasked. Thank you for watching, and until next time, stay curious.